Hi, I'm Peter.
And I'm Tepia.
Welcome to the This and That Chat. I feel like my mic is really loud today.
Oh, I wonder what the listeners are going to say about that.
You're not that loud, though.
I'm not that loud? Well, that's the first time I'm hearing that. No, actually, it's not. I often get told that no one can hear me. I feel like I'm that person that is at the restaurant and the waiter's literally right in front of me and I'm like, excuse me? And they turn around and they just walk away.
Well, now it's even worse because with the mask on.
Yeah, but I don't have a mask on when I'm talking to them. And their ears are not masked up, so there should be no problem. I've just been told my voice doesn't carry.
See, I'm.
You, on the other hand, are Cuban.
Well, even with that, but I'm visual when I'm speaking to people. So for me, it's almost like I read lips at the same time. So I find myself having to say, "What? Huh? Say it again. I didn't hear you."
Yes. Okay, I understand what you're saying. I feel like it's nothing to do with what I said, but I understand what you're saying.
Well, no, because you were saying that they couldn't. Oh, never mind.
Hey, you had a moment.
I had a moment.
You had a moment.
I had a moment. I had a. We'll call it a kept me a moment.
Oh, stop.
A KM.
Ooh, that actually sounds really good.
What, a KM?
Yeah, it sounds like a KO.
Finish him.
I love that.
Yeah.
But about that, it's I also feel like I have a problem listening, or not listening, but like understanding when people are saying things sometimes. Whether it's because they're talking too fast or the way that they're pronouncing words, whatever it is. But have you ever had to say, what was that? And they repeat themselves and you're like, I'm sorry, one more time. And you still don't understand what they're saying. And by the third time, you don't want to look like a dunce.
And you just laugh?
Yeah. You just kind of look at their expression.
Yeah, you look and see what they
and then you're like, oh, yeah. I've started saying, I have a bad ear. Okay, because what I have found, so if I've ever told you I have a bad ear, I'm sorry. But that's my only way of being able to say, talk to me again, because it slows people down and it makes people enunciate their words much better.
So I have a couple statements I'll add to that.
Okay.
So one of my guys, he is like, his Spanish is like really like ranchero Mexican. So it's really hard for me to understand him sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I always tell him, I'm always like, Carlito, you have either English or Spanish. Because I have no idea what you just said to me. I'm like, I don't know what you just said to me. He's like, I'm speaking to you in Spanish. And I'm like, no, you're not. And he's like, well, my wife tells me the same thing.
Interesting.
So it's like he just starts talking and it like all his stuff just mixes in together. And it's really funny. But it's like nobody understands him. When he gets into that really fast speaking, even my other guys who have a little bit more of that fast Spanish,
yeah.
Like they don't get him, and they're like, "Whoa, slow down." I'm like, and like my phrase is English or Spanish. That's the only two languages that I speak.
Oh my goodness, it's so funny. Then when you have a mumbler, that's harder.
Yeah.
But I don't think the people I've come across that I have an issue hearing is that they're mumbling or speaking a different dialect of Spanish or whatever. It's just sometimes it's like when you're on the phone and they're talking to you and then it breaks up when they're saying that one thing.
On the phone, no, but yeah, on the phone is even worse for me. Like, I listen, in general, I have just a hearing issue.
See?
I just don't hear, like, I don't hear things. And that's the second point I was going to bring, is that we've started doing something where if one of us
Oh, yeah,
says
that's
something
so
to
much
the
fun.
other, we just repeat back whatever we thought we heard.
Exactly.
It's like a
It's
game
like
of telephone. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a
exactly
game of
that.
telephone.
And we do that with our kids. Well, we only do it within our family because I think no one else would understand. And if you blurt out something like that when you're talking to someone else, they would just look at you like you just grew a second head. But in the house, that's how we talk with our kids, and it's just
And
they'll
it's
say
sometimes it's the most random.
it's
like-
just sounds. There's not even intelligible words. It's just sounds. And obviously, that's not what they said.
And I know that when I say things, there are times when I'm in more of a thought than a cohesive conversation. So my words don't come out as clear. Like even like to do the podcast, like I have to think clearly so that I can speak clearly. And I do that also like in my conversation with people because I tend to have a little bit of a mumble tendency because I'm thinking about so many different things. So I have to make it an intentional phrase.
Yeah, and do you know what I think is interesting is that one mumbler doesn't understand mumbling. Do you understand? Like if you're a mumbler, just because you're a mumbler doesn't mean you understand mumbling.
No, not at all. Not even close.
Because there's so many times, like Mike, our son, he tends to mumble, okay, and it's so funny because I can think of so many times when he would be saying something, and you would say what, and I would translate to you what he said.
Well, moms have
Moms do have a special thing.
a special thing to understand.
I don't know what that is, but when babies start talking.
Well, yeah, when they're kids, when they're little, they're like, and I'm like, what?
And then I feel like you can only do that with your children. It is special to you and your children because I've heard other babies babbling, and I would not be able to help them if they're crying and saying I want something, and then their mom comes around and it's like, oh, they just want this. So it's just special to moms.
Yep.
But anyway, language.
It's
an interesting thing.
Yeah. It's
and
what is it?
And here, especially, I watched a video that was talking about how you can say they say that Spanish is an easy, I don't know if you've heard that it's an easy language to learn. I particularly find it difficult, but then Spanish speakers say English is difficult. So I think that any language is difficult.
Yeah, it's whatever language you didn't learn first is difficult.
Right. But the reason why I think Spanish is harder than English is because, especially in a place like South Florida, where you have a melting pot of different countries here, you say one word in Spanish, and that word does not mean the same in every country.
I don't know if I can share this story. I think I'm going to though, because it pertains to that. And I'll be very PG.
Peachy?
There's a prime example. PG.
PG, okay.
Okay. So
slow down your talking.
Listen, no, it's not that. So there is my most favoritist.
It's not a word.
It is today.
It is.
My most favoritist food in the entire world is.
Ooh, gosh, you're gonna put me on the spot like that?
Yeah.
Your most favoritist food? Are we talking like? Am I supposed to say
what
breakfast?
is? Yeah. No.
Oh, meat. Oh gosh. Your most favoritist food?
I wish
oxtail.
Yes.
Okay.
I wish you guys could see
you
my
could say-
like you can see my face as
The disappointment.
I'm like, this is what is this 21
meat.
years and that's it?
Hello, you know the first thing that popped into my mind? Mexican.
Okay, but what's my most favoritist food in the entire world?
Okay, oxtail.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Okay.
And
So-
it's cooked in a specific way.
Yes, it's like amazing. Anyways, So for Cubans, right, we say rabo encendido, right? That's the name. Rabo means tail for the Cubans. But in other cultures, particularly the culture of my in-laws, rabo means something different. And I remember, I won't describe what it is, but you guys can imagine. I remember sitting at Katmia's house when I was first trying to, I don't know, first trying to scooch myself in there. And we were having a conversation at the table. I think we were playing a game, something, whatever, and favorite foods came up. And I immediately said, rabo encendido. And the look on Katmia's face, because that word means something a little bit on the vulgar side for her mom, she looked at me like, no, move on, like, say
I
something
think my
different.
shocked face, honestly, was how gross that sounded. Because of knowing the word meaning, right? It just sounded gross. But
Well, you thought it was something else until I
actually,
explained
I
it.
want to say that I think that you may be wrong about what it means to Cubans. Okay, because I remember your grandmother telling me, laughing about the fact that no, that's not what it means. It's the tail of the ox.
I know.
I remember that. So that means
But that's what I'm
that
saying.
for Cubans, it means the same thing.
It means
but
tail.
no, that's not what she said. So now this is a debate that we will have to settle for another day. You have to put a pin on
Hold
that.
on, no.
Yes. Oh man, is it possible for us to call someone? Can we phone a friend?
I don't even know. I wouldn't even know how to do that.
I know, right?
And we couldn't put them on the spot, not
Right.
knowing.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know.
It's only raw and unscripted for us. But I am gonna say that your grandmother laughed and she said, "No, that's not what we're eating." She said, "It sounds like that, but it's the tail." So I do think it means the same thing for you guys.
It can be used in that context.
Well,
But when you say rabo encendido,
everyone knows that it's an
oxtail.
oxtail.
Yes. But
On the
just
other
using
hand,
just
my
using that word.
grandmother used to make this soup that's called mondongo soup. Okay? And when I was a kid, anytime that we would, get to her house and it was like, "Oh, what are you making, Grandma?" I don't know, but I feel like she used to make that soup a lot. Or maybe it's the time of the year we visited. I don't know if this is like an Easter thing, whatever, right? But she would make the soup. And oh my gosh, every time that I knew she had made it, I'm so excited, right? And it was not because of the veggies in the soup or the taste of the soup, but it was because of the piece of meat that I was going to get in my plate, which I used to think about it as meat bubble gum, okay? Or just meat gum. Meat gum. We'll just call it meat gum, okay?
Meat gum?
Meat gum.
G-U-M.
G-U-M. Yeah.
Okay.
The moment you stuck that thing, first of all, you had to like get your canines out, okay? And shred through that, like pull it, and then it rips, right? And then you can chew on that piece for hours. And I just would love it because it was full of juices of the soup, and it just was amazing. All right. As an adult, I decided, hey, maybe I want to try to make that soup for my family. Hey, what is that meat that you use for that mondongo soup, right? And I get told, oh, it's tripe. Just go look for tripe. I don't know what the hell tripe is. What the hell? Okay.
What the hell?
It's my favorite audio. And I go to the store and I am shocked. I'm telling you, if you had told me that I was eating Rocky Mountain oysters, I would not have been as shocked as when I saw this despicable honeycomb piece of whatever that is.
Stomach. It's stomach lining.
Okay, whoa. Okay, we're talking about it too much. I cannot believe that that is what we used to eat in that soup, and that's why it was chewy. That's why it was meat gum. But apparently, that's how you make that soup. It's amazing and delicious. I would never eat it again. I'm so disgusted by it.
It sounds disgusting.
Yeah, well, it's like my whole childhood was a lie. That's what it felt like. The best soup in the world turned out to be a lie.
Maybe it was just the experience of going to your grandma's house, and that was her thing.
Fun. It was always fun. Did you enjoy going to your grandmother's house when you were a kid?
So I lived next to my grandmother.
How amazing is that?
In the same. So when my parents got married, they built an addition onto the side of my grandmother's house.
Like a duplex. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we lived on one side until I was 11 and change, because that's when we moved down to the Keys. And yeah, I was at my grandma's house every day, essentially.
Oh.
Come home from school and go over there.
But was it fun? Because I wonder how different that was for you. You lived next to her. Did you prefer to be at her house than at your house? Did she make you cookies or snacks after school? Like, what was that like for you?
I think if I were to put it back to a certain memory that was fun for me, that I enjoyed the most, she was always, I don't know, she always had some kind of silliness going on. It was always some kind of a game where her arm was a spider and she was attacking you, or if it was raining. If it was raining outside, get up on the couch because the electricity's gonna get you.
You mean the lightning?
Yeah, lightning or whatever.
I think that's a Hispanic family thing.
There was just little things like that, but every morning I'd go for breakfast, and I'd have my café con leche with my toast and butter, and she'd always have that ready for me. Sometimes even when I got home from school, it was there. I'm trying to think. There was just so much, there was little stuff that would just happen. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we had a neighbor, the lady in the back. So our house was a corner house, and on the back side.
Hey, my house was a corner house too.
Mm-hmm. So the back side of the house had this American lady who spoke no Spanish at all, right? And then you've got my grandmother who spoke no English at all except for bad words. That was all that she knew.
Why is that the first thing that they learn?
Because it's the easiest. So I remember my grandmother was very paranoid whenever she was going to take a shower or going to do something, whatever. She would lock all the doors. And I'm outside playing. Back in the day when you were actually allowed to just be out in the street and play, and just be back by the time the lights in the street turn on.
At the turn of the century, you mean?
Yeah. Anyways, so I remember I'm playing outside, and there was a little hall, not a hallway,
an alleyway?
Like an alleyway behind.
No way.
Yeah, there was. For real.
What are you talking about?
So in between,
an alleyway is between buildings.
Okay,
These
so
are
in between yards, there was a little alley.
No, there's
For real. So there was the fence line for my grandmother's house, and then there was probably 5 feet of just grass, and then another fence line for the neighbor.
Oh, so it was the in between.
Yeah, it was an in between, and it was it kind of was a little bit of a maze. I never quite understood why it was there, but it was there.
There must have been a dispute over whose land is what, and then that's how the fences got put up.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, so I'm playing. We're running around the house. We're going back into this little corner or whatever, and I needed to go to the bathroom. I was peeing myself. I was like, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I go running back. There's nobody at my house, so everything's locked. I go run to my grandma's house, and she has everything locked because she's taking a shower. And I am dancing like I need to go to the bathroom. And on the outside of the house, there is a gas tank, like one of those big propane tanks, because they have a gas stove. And I decide that if I just lean up against it, I could pee there and nobody will see me. I was wrong.
The nosy neighbor.
The neighbor saw me, right? And she picks up the phone and calls my grandmother.
Oh my gosh.
Now, there's this American lady who doesn't speak any Spanish, okay? And my grandmother who doesn't speak any English. And the lady is telling my grandmother, "Pipi in the gas, Pedrito, pipi in the gas, pipi in the gas." Listen.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to be 40 this year. I still hear this from my grandmother when I talk to her.
It must be one of her favorite memories.
It's like one of those things. It's so silly, but she says it and she repeats it the same way that lady did. Beep in the gas, beep in the gas. And then she just starts laughing. Anyways, I just remember that story when we were talking about that. So
that's a good story with your grandma.
Yeah, she was fun. She was always, by the way, this is the same grandma who is on her phone looking at the Ring camera. Get off my lawn. Anyways, but it's so different now. It's like, she's older and like she's always tried to be like stay kind of hip in whatever we were doing. But anyways,
I think grandmas get to that age, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's not every grandma. But kind of where, I don't know, I think your grandkids are so different than your own children, that stage of life. I've seen a lot of grandmas are just more permissive, more involved, more everything. I don't know if that's just a...
Okay, so...
If it's just some grandmother's thing.
So here's my grandma trying to stay hip, right? So she got a Facebook. Oh, God. Okay, listen. There are certain members of the family who have now taken... They got her password just in case so that they can go and fix things that would happen on their social media. Because I would say they got a little bit of an addiction. Like they were on there all the time commenting on pictures and seeing pictures and doing all kinds of stuff. Everything that was, you could find on there. Becoming friends with everyone and anyone. And it was funny because sometimes like they would click on the dictate to speech, and then they would just have it on, and they were talking, and they would just put on this entire conversation on a comment, on a Facebook picture or whatever, and not even realize it. My mom had her birthday come up. And my grandfather was like, "Oh, felicidades, happy birthday, blah, blah, blah." And then it was like, no, and then the car and the thing had over here, and I had to go outside because the trash can went out to the over here and that.
They didn't turn it off.
They didn't turn it off.
Oh, no.
So it just recorded the entire conversation and put it on there.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, so stuff like that would happen, but...
Yeah, and, speaking about social media, and that... It's, we just finished watching the documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. And if you guys listening have not seen this documentary, I highly, highly recommend you watch it. I think it was maybe an hour and a half long, I think. And, it's... I know that it's not going to make a big difference for a ton of people. But if a couple of people, if it impacts them, I think it can start making a difference. Because social media, I think everybody can agree, has become something that I don't think... And I mean, even in the documentary, the creators, a lot of the creators or people who were involved in this said that they did not intend it to become what it has become. Because I remember back when social media didn't exist, right? And so, how did you see your friends or talk to your friends? Phone call, or you saw them in person. Because even back then, there wasn't texting. And I never had an email. So, I didn't email my friends. It was just you call them on the phone, on the house phone, okay, with the extension, right? Where your parents sometimes are listening, or your sibling, right? Or you see them in person. And your socializing happened that way. And now that's all gone for a majority of it. Most people that you talk to, they have cell phones, they have social media accounts. There's other ways to I guess, talk to people than just the face-to-face thing.
Well, it's changed so much because everything's become so fast paced. Like trying to figure out how can we do so much faster that it just causes for people to find shortcuts. And social media really is a shortcut to a relationship with somebody. You know, you can say I've got, I don't know, 500 friends, on Facebook, but when was the last time you sat in a room with any of those people? It's like a non-existent. And
What
now,
is a friend?
yeah,
I mean, now that's the question. Like, what
Right.
is a friend?
Yeah,
and I don't
it's
know that.
changed.
Right. And I don't know that for the new generation. I'm talking about like the kids nowadays. Like, what does that even mean? Because all of that has changed so much. And I mean, the documentary for me was impactful because for school, I've had to do several papers already on subjects of controversy, or, just a subject that I'm interested in. And I've always been interested in social media and the effects that it's having on people, because I feel like mental health is another thing that the country doesn't really address well. One of the statistics that I was reading is that the number of beds in a psychiatric hospital has decreased so low that, and then on the other hand, right, it's not able to maintain or take care of people who have been documented to have mental health issues. Okay. But on the other hand, prison beds have increased. So there's like things that are happening in which, like, I've done a lot of papers looking into mental health and like how the country is handling all of that. And social media keeps coming up as a reason why anxiety is high, depression is high. And then looking at this documentary, like, I heard a term that I've never heard before: Snapchat dysmorphia. And I mean, I think nothing should shock me, but that shocked me. That psychiatrists are saying that they are getting requests from people to make them look like they're filtered photos. Now, I did more research into that, and I was really happy to see that these doctors have referred people to getting counseling and refused to do these surgeries. One doctor said that their client actually produced filtered photos of herself as her pictures. When he said, "Show me pictures of you," I guess, like to see you, what's your favorite picture of yourself that you want to replicate?
Well, everything is filtered.
That's what I'm saying.
It doesn't matter, like changing anything from complexion to,
your lip size, your
to
eye
lip
size,
eye
everything.
size, yeah, the whole thing. If you look at a picture on any of these platforms, 9 times out of 10, there's something adjusted in them. Even if it's the adjustment of brightness and shadows and just trying to give, and even there's such a conscious effort to disguise the real you. A lot of people, they take pictures at certain angles, and they do certain things to make themselves look different. And then, at the end when you meet them, they're like, "Oh, you catfished me," or you're
I mean, like
whatever. But
catfishing didn't. How could that have existed before?
it couldn't have. It couldn't have. And like for us, I know that you started to make some of these changes even before we. This is way before we watched
Yes,
the
because we
documentary.
just watched this a week or so ago.
Right. And you started to make social media changes way before I did.
I started in the beginning of. It was actually January 2020.
Right. It was actually part of something that you said when
Right.
we were up in the mountains
Yep.
on vacation. You
Yeah.
were like, I'm gonna go back and I think I'm just going to make adjustments.
And it
I'm
was
gonna
because, for me personally, I wanted to slow down. I was feeling overwhelmed by just not just the fast pace of life. Or did I say that right? That sounded weird when I said that. But, or that fast pace. But also, I wanted to be more intentional about who I was spending my time with and what I was doing with my time in general. And so much of that, in fact, in a survey that was just done recently, teenagers were asked, "How many hours do you feel like you spend on your phone a day?" And they said, from little bits here and there, an hour or two. Do you know that the average amount of time that teenagers spend on their phone is 10 to 12 hours a day? And they're unaware that they're spending so much time. So I know for myself, right, that there was a lot of time spent on Pinterest making boards, dreaming about, like we said, things we were going to do to the house, looking up recipes. It seems like it is
like you're being productive.
exactly.
But
You're not just mindlessly scrolling through videos, right? I felt like I was doing something, but then it was like all of a sudden, you sat down to do one little thing, you were searching a recipe, and 30 minutes have gone by, and you moved from the recipe on to something else,
Well,
so
that was so like I was saying, for you started to make that change before I did. And I it was almost kind of like I was in a little bit of denial. Oh, I'm not addicted. I'm not nothing. I'm not, like that was kind of the thing that was happening with me.
it's just my decompression thing that
Yeah, I'm decompressing. Yeah, I would be like, this is, I'm coming down off of my day because it was so busy. It was so crazy. It was this or that, whatever. So I found myself making these little excuses and these little things. And then I realized that I just wasn't paying attention to anything that was going on around me. And I went cold turkey from like one day to another. And I only stayed with Instagram and I took everything else off. And it's funny because even on Instagram, I had to learn how to use Instagram because it wasn't the one. So I chose Instagram because it's the one I didn't know how to use as efficiently as the others. But like I would remember, like I'd get on TikTok and I'd scroll through an hour of videos and look up and be like, damn, what just happened? And I found myself lost. And it's the same for a lot of people. They feel that way. I put a poll up on our Instagram this week.
Oh, did you? About this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And I asked,
missed it.
how many people feel like they are addicted to social media, and we had 24 responses, and 22 said yes.
Wow.
2 said no.
Yeah. And whoever
I would challenge the 2.
Yep, I would
because
say.
because even now, even though I've made adjustments, I'm finding myself back in some of the same patterns.
Well, and so I wanted to go back and finish my transition into it, right? So for me, it was very important that I remove my time from being on social media. To me, it was like a daily checking in. Did I get any messenger messages? Do I have any notifications on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, right? And it was so important for me to turn that off starting in January. I felt like this load come off of, hey, I'm not like waiting for this, notification, or did someone answer? Did they read my message? Whatever.
Did they like
okay?
my picture?
I mean, well, I was more like I had messaged someone and it had been 3 days, and have you read it? And you saw it, but you didn't respond to it. Kind of, okay. So that was my thing, right? And I was so excited about, okay, like I'm going to claim back my time. I'm going to do things that are actually more productive, whatever that is, okay? And then all of a sudden, 3 months into it, COVID, and everybody's home, and then everything is back online. Everything. I felt resentful. I think that's the right word for me, that I was forced to go back into social media. And someone actually told me that. Someone told me, you need to stop being resentful over that, and you just need to see the good that it is. And I couldn't tell them at that moment, you don't know what this means to me. Like this isn't just about, oh, I don't want to be forced back into social media because I don't like it. It was more than that to me, And it was dismissive the way that they said that. And to me, now looking back, it just makes me think about, this is how unaware we are of what social media is doing to some people. And the way that we can say, oh, like, how come you're not on social media, or you're missing out? How do you stay connected with people? It's so ignorant to say that, because we know that there was a different way before social media came up.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only thing that really saves us. And I'm talking about you and me. Right? The fact that we did know that there was a different way before, and we have not been in this world this whole time, because then it makes me think about even decisions that we made early on before, when social media first came, or not just social media, but like the cell phone, and you being able to carry this thing around you all day long. You've got your internet on there. You've got everything on your phone, right? We made rules in our house about no cell phones at the table. Absolutely. For any time that we're sitting down, no cell phones at the table for food, no cell phones for family time.
And still holds true to today.
Yes. And we have
and we struggle with it, because our kids, so like our son, he doesn't live at home anymore.
But even when he was, right before he moved
Right.
out, he got his
Bluetooth
Bluetooth headphones.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so it was like a sneaky way of bringing whatever he was listening to the table. And it was like...
Well, hold on. So when I had let my hair grow out, and I had it for a while, I think there was some point there where Michael was like, oh, I'm gonna copy Dad and start letting my hair grow out. And I was like, that was interesting. I didn't expect that, and it got to the point where his hair would stay long and would almost sit always to one side. And I think it was the side that was hiding his ear pod in his ear. It was
just a convenient thing.
It was a convenient.
It was a convenient thing.
But we like that's something, like, even now, like when he comes to visit and he's here at home, and we sit at the table, and even his fiance, when we're holding her to it also, because we're at home. That's important for us to be able to sit there and have these conversations.
Right. And it gets a little tricky, because there were some times where you would forget the rule, you, the parent, right? Yeah. And it was like, okay, so now, kids are looking at Dad, like, but you have your phone, right? And it was for something, I don't know, a call from work. It's like, I have to take this. And then, you never just use your phone for that one thing. That one thing turns into, oh, let me send a text to somebody or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're on your phone again, But we have all kept each other accountable when it comes to that. And I am so grateful for that because you go out now, and we see this all the time. Anybody who's listening, you can attest to this too. You go out, you look around in a restaurant. I would say that 95% of people are not engaged in conversation with each other. They're on their phones.
Well, remember when when we were away for our weekend, we were at this the fancy restaurant, Chop City Grill, and like, we like we had shared with you guys, we felt completely out of place. So we were very
you felt more out of place than I did. I had a steak.
we were very observant of the people around us. And there was a table next to us that had 4 kids that were sitting on it, and all 4 kids were planted, like their face to their. I think there was a tablet. There was a Nintendo, the Switch. There was people, kids on their phones. Whatever screen, they were slam packed into their faces, with these machines.
Yeah.
While everyone, around them was having dinner, and that's been something that we've been more observant of because we're being more critical of ourselves in that time. For me, it was very hard, and it's still very hard. I have to kind of force myself to not want to reach for my phone or not want to do something on my phone because I've grown so accustomed to having that right at my fingertips. But one of the things that I did to kind of help me do that is, and no offense to anyone if you were on my friends list, but like I went through my social media. I shut down my Facebook completely.
Well, and let's just pause there we're going to park our car right here for a minute, okay?
Okay.
Because that is just one of the roadblocks that I ran into, right? Was that I wanted to shut down my social media entirely. Okay? 2 things that I learned from this documentary is that we the people are what's on sale for businesses. They're not selling to us, we're being sold to them. So our attention, our data, all of that is being sold to these people so that they can advertise.
Whether you want to or not.
Whether you want to
you can
or
click
not.
on that little button that says do not share data all you want. Your data is being sold.
Right. Because somewhere else, you accepted something, right? And who's reading all of these little fine prints? Have you noticed that every single time you go into a website now, you've got to accept cookies? Mm-hmm. Or it doesn't let you into the website?
Yep.
Okay, so one of the problems I ran into was I want to shut down Facebook, all right? So I went, deactivate my account. First, it was almost impossible to find that button. I had to go through so many steps to get to the deactivation button. And when I got to it, it said, if I deactivate right now, every picture that I have in there is going to be lost.
Yeah, deleted, gone.
Right? And it stays with them. Right? I don't want to give them my pictures. So what does that mean? Now I have to go on there and I have to download years worth of pictures because that's the only place that they're at. Because what do we not have? Nobody has albums anymore because everything's digital. And I just have not had the time to. So what I did was that there's another option that you can choose.
Like you muted it to the world.
I muted it to the world, but also like you're logging off for a while. So you're like putting it to sleep. It's not deactivated entirely.
All you would need to do is go back in there, hit one button, you're back.
Right. But here's the kicker, right? When I post to Instagram, there are some times that it will post to Facebook. And I have turned all of that off, and yet it's still posting over there. And I know that because somebody who was part of my friends list on Facebook will tell me, "Oh, I saw that you did that," and it's like, I haven't spoken to you in however long. How do you know that? So it's posting over there, and so it's like the user, me. I don't have control over shutting things down.
Well, that's why I did what I did on Facebook. I went in and I deleted every single friend top to bottom, completely. So I still have my Facebook. It's still there. I put myself as non-searchable, like they can't find me,
I'm sure that you can
which
still be
I'm sure
found.
you can still be found. But you can't see anything. Like I made sure that I had all that stuff shut down, whatever.
Dang it, I wish I would have thought that we were talking about this today, because now that you say that, my brother or was one of my sisters who shared a website that is completely free. You don't have to pay for it, okay? And you can find your information, like everything that they have on you, your address, your phone number, known family members who live with you. It's insane.
Well, everything's on the internet.
Right. And I didn't give them permission to have my information, but
Well, somewhere you did.
somewhere I did.
You clicked
Somewhere I
something
did
somewhere.
something. Yeah.
So I just so for me, like I have like I reduced everything to the bare minimum, and
Because you can't delete it.
because I can't delete it.
Oh,
But
I'm sorry.
but for
I
me,
think that's what it was.
but for me, it was just one of those things where I felt that I needed to eliminate the enticing of going and scrolling through other people and finding out, what are they
So
doing?
there's nothing to scroll through.
There's nothing to scroll through, right? And what I end up finding out is that when you have nothing to scroll through, they find something for you to scroll through, because you can continually scroll through Instagram nonstop and never reach an end. And when you look at the post says suggested for you, suggested for you, suggested for you.
Based on likes that
Based
you've
on
had before.
likes, based on stuff that you know. So it's like these pages just continue to feed you and feed you and feed you and feed you because they want you to be there. They want you to continually come back. They want you to continue to look and see what is going on in there so that they can just feed this want over and over and over. And it's crippling. It actually like it holds you down. It messes with you.
Well, another thing that you did that I thought was helpful was that you set a timer for yourself, or a limit.
Yeah. So on the iPhone, I just put an hour for social media, and there are days where I just ignore it. I'm not gonna lie, but there are days when I'll go through the entire day and I won't hit that hour. I won't spend that much time on social media. If I don't know, I would say that maybe 70% of the time I don't hit that time frame, and then there are days that I just that I do, but it lets you know, like it's like.
And I think more like what I was referring to is that very first time that came on that said, okay, you've reached your limit. I think it was a little surprising to you, like, I
yeah,
didn't
it was.
realize I've reached it already.
It was 9:00 in the morning, and I had reached my hour, and I was like, "What?"
I think that's really when you were honest with yourself about, I think I am addicted to social media. And then there's no shame in that, especially hearing it from these developers themselves on this documentary, talking about how they are the ones who created the programs that keep you hooked, right? And they themselves are falling prey to the very programs that they developed. One guy even went as far as to say that he had to write a program to get him to quit a platform because he was unable to stop.
And when they asked them all at the end, would you allow your kids to be on social media? They all said no.
They all said no. And
Because
that's very telling.
because they know what it is.
That's very telling. And so another thing that we did with our kids was that we did not allow them to have a cell phone or any kind of internet access or social media for that until they were 15. And while I think it was enormously helpful for them not to be exposed to that in their vulnerable ages, it still does not erase what it does to them from then moving forward. There's
And so much of it is, and we're talking about, so for Mike, it's 5 years that he's been on social media, or almost 6 years, and it's nothing close to what it was back then when he first started.
No.
So it's
And it's
constantly
an ugly place.
constantly changing in a very ugly
Yeah.
place, because they're looking for whatever it is that's going to bring you back.
Yeah.
And I started telling you this the other day, and we never got around to it, but I was talking to my dad, and he starts telling me about a video that he saw, and then he was like, "Oh, I gotta try and see if I can find it." And then he's like, "Oh, there was this other one, and then there's another one, and another one, and another one." I was like, "Dad, you gotta save them." He's like, "Oh, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to save them yet. I don't know how to share them." I'm like, "What platform are you on? Like, where are you finding them? You know?" He's like, "I got such a bad addiction to TikTok. It's so bad." And I was like, "What? Like, what are you doing on TikTok?" And he's like, "No, I started to look, because I was looking at your sister's videos, and she was posting stuff with the kids, and then I started looking at that, and then after I watched their video, I just kept on scrolling and scrolling and scrolling." He goes, "It's bad." He's like, "I feel like I can't put it down. I just want to watch the next video."
Yeah, and so when you think about social media, right? You think about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I guess, Twitter, right? You would say those are your four big ones. There might be others I'm
YouTube.
missing. Okay, so I have never considered YouTube social media, because you don't have friends on YouTube. You are going to watch content on YouTube, and maybe you're posting content, but it's a maybe. More so, you're scrolling on other people's content or random content. But one of my brother-in-laws, right, said that for him, his addiction was YouTube. Still struggling, but YouTube, I never saw that as a thing. And then it made me, that's just naive of me, but it made me think that even Mike had mentioned that one day that he was sick and he was like in bed all day long, or whatever. He came out of his room and he was like, "I have finally reached the end of YouTube." Remember he said that?
Mm-hmm.
That he got into places that he said were just weird, and I'm like, how does that even happen? It's so hard to comprehend, but this is like the rabbit hole that never ends, right? And then going back to what you said in the beginning, just about people positioning themselves to take their best picture, right? One guy that I saw, he was doing a TED Talk on this, right? He was saying that in order for you to understand social media, you have to understand it as a slot machine in Vegas. Okay, this is how they are designed to be. You're playing the slot machine hoping you're going to hit that jackpot or you're going to win something. This is why gambling attracts people. You're just going to put in a little bit of money and maybe you're going to hit the big one, right? And that's how it works. It works based on rewarding you with people's comments, people's likes on your stuff. And so, yeah, people are trying to post their best highlight reel so that you can get that satisfaction of, it's like, this got this many downloads or it got this many likes.
Well, I found myself doing that this week because of our episode for last week. We didn't get as much traction on this last episode. And I was telling Kemi, I was like, "Oh, we only got this many downloads this time. It wasn't as much as the last time. There's this. So what do we do? What do we need to change?" And she's like, "We're not doing this for anyone else. We're just doing this for us. So what does that matter?" And I was like, "Dang it!" I was like, "That's not fair." No, but it's true. It was. You look for that kind of stuff, and it's hard to not want to
rewire your brain is the thing.
Yeah.
To think differently.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hard part. And what I was going to close with was the highlight reel of our lives, right? That's what goes on display for everyone to see. And to talk about another documentary we saw I think it's called Family Man, the Chris Watts story, right? This family's life was on Facebook. She was like a direct sales representative for a company. So she did tons of live videos, tons of photos. I mean, she put her entire life on display. You would look at her videos and you would say, they have the perfect family. They're super happy. They're so in love. And if you look up Chris Watts, he's the guy, Colorado guy, right, who killed his pregnant wife and their 2 toddler baby girls and then dumped them in a field because he wanted to go start his own new life somewhere else. And so, like, you never know. This is not facade. Real. It is a facade.
It's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all this social media stuff is a screensaver. But you have no idea what's going on. Like, that computer could be full of viruses, but that screensaver always works. And when you walk by it, it looks like a beautiful computer with no issues. But there's so much stuff that's hidden behind it. And I think if there were to be anything that you take away from this episode, I would say that, first I would strongly suggest to watch the documentary because I thought it was really, really good information. 2 is if there is a need for you to...
Well, I think everyone should do a personal assessment.
Yeah, to do a personal assessment on it. And if you find yourself in a spot where, you know what, you're hiding behind the social media or you're hiding behind that, like there are so many amazing professionals that are out there that are able to help you, and it's not something to be embarrassed about, because I would say that it is probably the most underrated I don't know the word. I'm trying to put it together, but like it's the most underrated thing that has benefit for for married couples, for parents.
Are you talking about counseling?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I guess I should have been a little bit more specific, but
I was trying to help you find your word, but I wasn't sure where you were going.
But see, that's what happens. I'm thinking and I start mumbling.
Yeah, and I mean, not to say that, okay, if you're addicted to social media, you need counseling, right?
No, but I'm saying if you're like in the self-assessment, if you find stuff,
right? If there's like a self-esteem issue, like there's got to be people out there who are thinking about that. Like, I never want to take a picture because I don't like how I look. I mean, there's deeper issues in all of this, and there's a lot of good that obviously technology has brought to us, but at the end of the day, the piper will be paid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what are you willing to give up? What are you willing to lose just to be connected to this machine that isn't really connected to anything at all? We can still have conversations with people. You can still have genuine relationships with people. It's just the phone needs to move out of the way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're having a conversation with the phone and the person, Yeah. So it's just like assessing, your situation, your usage, and then finding ways if that's something like, hey, I want to reduce my time. Like one of the things that I did was turn off my notifications, and that helped immediately, like not being able to see those little bubbles, So yeah, I mean, it's not something, it took us, we fell deeply into this hole very quickly, all of us, so it's going to take a lot of hard work to not let it rule us, I guess.
Yep.
The One Ring. Look at that. Look what happened to the people who wanted the One Ring.
Very true. Well, that was a lot. There was a lot of really good stuff we talked about today.
That got serious.
It did get serious.
Wow, that escalated quickly.
I don't know. I feel wrong telling people to go to our social media and.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to get our. I don't know. It's interesting.
So we'll do it this way. If there is anything, any subject or anything that you guys would like to hear from us, please reach out to us. All right? You can go to our Instagram. You can go to our website, on our YouTube. Send us a message. Let us know. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear what you think about our show, if you're enjoying it. And, we'll be back next week with another exciting topic, something new. Something.
I know what next week is.
Well, let's not tell them.
Dun, 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 dun. It's May the 4th.
I know.
Oh, shut up. Okay. Bye now. Why you let me go on and on like that?
Because, that's our closing theme song for today. No.
No, that'll be next week.
Actually, wait, you got to be careful. You can't go that long because we can get.
Oh. Nah, it's only the first 3 seconds they care about.
Anyways, join us next week. We're going to be talking about a little bit about Star Wars because we love Star Wars.
We're not sure what we're going to be talking about, but May
and
the
then
4th.
It'll start off.
Be with all of us.
Yeah, it'll start off with that, and then of course we'll follow our rabbit trails. But
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Go watch The Social Dilemma
On Netflix.
It was amazing. We'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for sticking around with us, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.